I told my wife to have no more kids. Now she must choose, our marriage or another baby. You know, it's like we're playing tug of war, but with our hearts as the rope, Mark sighed, tossing a crumpled napkin into the bin. His voice echoed in the emptiness of the kitchen. The only sound that followed was the faint hum of the fridge. Emma looked up from the dinner prep, her eyes red and puffy. I didn't mean for it to come to this, she whispered, the words barely audible over the sizzle of the frying pan. But every time I hold one of the kids, I can't shake this feeling that there's another little person out there waiting for us. Mark leaned against the counter, his knuckles white from gripping the edge. Emma, I get it. I do. But my heart, my mind, my body, they're telling me no more. And you want me to just ignore that? He paused, watching her carefully. It's not a fair ask. She wiped a stray tear from her cheek with the back of her hand, not breaking eye contact. I know it's not. But what's the alternative? Her voice was shaky, the weight of their unresolved conflict pressing down on her. We've talked, and we're just going in circles. The smell of burnt garlic filled the air, snapping them both back to reality. Emma hastily flipped off the stove and turned to face Mark. I don't want to resent you. I don't want this to ruin us, she said, her voice trembling. But I can't pretend I don't feel this way. Mark's expression softened. I don't want that either. He stepped closer to her, taking her hand gently. We've got to find a way to move forward together. Her gaze dropped to their intertwined fingers. Or maybe, she started, her voice barely above a murmur, we need to accept that moving forward might mean moving apart. The room grew tense, the air thick with unspoken fears and desires. Mark felt a knot form in his stomach. The thought of losing Emma was unbearable, but so was the thought of bringing a child into the world under such strain. They stood in silence, the only sound the ticking of the wall clock, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, Mark took a deep breath. Let's sit down and talk. Properly. He led her to the table, pulling out a chair for her before taking his own seat. We can't keep doing this to ourselves. Emma nodded, her eyes searching his for a hint of what lay ahead. The dinner grew cold as they sat down, but the conversation that followed was anything but. They spoke of their fears, their hopes, and their love, each word a delicate dance around the unspoken ultimatum that had been laid before them. As the night grew darker outside, the room grew brighter with the candles they'd lit, casting shadows on the walls that danced like silent witnesses to their conversation. They talked until the early hours of the morning, exploring every option and emotion, from adoption to the possibility of a third child. The silence that fell when their words finally ran out was deafening. They both knew that no matter what choice they made, it would change their lives irrevocably. They looked at each other, the weight of their decision palpable in the air. Mark reached for her hand again. Whatever happens, we're in this together, he assured her. We'll find a way. Emma's eyes searched his, seeking the truth in his words. She nodded slowly, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within her. Okay, she murmured. Okay. The candles continued to flicker, their shadows playing out an unwritten future on the walls. The house was still, but inside, the storm of their hearts raged on. They had made a promise to find a way, but the path ahead remained as murky and as uncertain as ever. 3 weeks later, Mark received a call that would throw their lives into a tailspin. It was from a social worker, explaining that a child in desperate need of a loving home had been identified. The catch? The baby was due to be born in a few short months, and the decision had to be made immediately. Mark's heart raced as he relayed the information to Emma. She was folding laundry in their bedroom, the mundane task a stark contrast to the monumental choice they now faced. The room fell silent as she processed the news, her hands paused mid-fold. Emma's gaze met Mark's, and in her eyes, he saw something shift, a spark of hope, a fierce determination. We can do this, she said firmly, her voice filled with a conviction that had been missing in their previous conversations. We can give this baby a home, Mark. Mark felt a knot in his chest loosen slightly. He had been so focused on the impossibility of having another child naturally that the option of adoption had barely crossed his mind. Yet here it was, presenting itself as a potential bridge between their desires. He looked at Emma, her eyes shining with excitement and something else, a profound love that seemed to envelop the very room. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their decision. Okay, he said slowly. Let's talk about it. They sat down together, knees touching, as they discussed the possibility of adoption. The more they talked, the more Mark could feel his fears giving way to the warmth of the idea. Maybe this was their chance to grow their family without the stress of another pregnancy or the financial burden of another biological child. Maybe this was the way they could move forward together, hand in hand. The following days were a blur of research, meetings with the social worker, and soul-searching discussions. Mark found himself picturing a third child in their home, a little one that they could love and nurture, And to his surprise, the image didn't fill him with dread. Instead, it brought a smile to his face. Emma's excitement grew with each passing moment, her eyes lighting up as she imagined a baby in her arms again. The medical issues of their current children were a concern, but the prospect of providing a loving home to a child in need seemed to outweigh the potential challenges. The day they brought the new baby home was filled with a mix of emotions, nervousness, excitement, and a profound sense of purpose. Mark held the baby close, feeling an instant bond that was as fierce as it was unexpected. He looked over at Emma, her face aglow with happiness, and realized that sometimes life had a way of offering you exactly what you needed, even when you thought you knew better. As they settled into their new routine, Mark couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. The tension that had been simmering between them had dissipated, replaced by a newfound appreciation for each other and their ability to find common ground. The baby, a little bundle of joy and hope, had brought them closer than ever before. They named her Lily, a symbol of their newfound understanding and the beauty that could emerge from the darkest of moments. And as they watched her sleep peacefully in her crib, Mark knew that their family was complete, not because of the number of children they had, but because of the love that bound them all together. But life had one more curveball to throw their way. At Lily's first checkup, the pediatrician raised concerns about her development. Tests followed, and with each one, Mark and Emma's hearts sank a little further. Finally, the diagnosis came. Lily had a rare genetic condition that would require a lifetime of care and advocacy. The news was overwhelming, but it also brought a newfound sense of unity to Mark and Emma. They had faced so much together already, but this was a challenge that was uniquely theirs. They held hands, their knuckles white with the force of their grip, as the doctor explained the complexities of Lily's condition and the endless appointments and therapies that lay ahead. Their days grew filled with doctors' offices and medical jargon, but Mark and Emma tackled it all as a team. They learned the ins and outs of insurance battles, the art of balancing work and Lily's needs, and the importance of self-care amidst the chaos. The stress of a third child was real, but it was different. It was a challenge they had chosen, and it was one that was strengthening their marriage in a way they never could have anticipated. As they navigated the uncharted waters of Lily's condition, they grew closer than ever before. They shared late nights researching treatment options, early mornings for therapy sessions, and countless appointments where they had to fight for their daughter's care. The sleepless nights and endless worry were taxing, but they found solace in each other's company. The tension that had once threatened to tear them apart had been replaced by a deep respect for their shared resilience. They had gone from feeling like two people pulling in opposite directions to a united front, fighting for the well-being of their child. And through it all, Lily remained their beacon of light, a reminder that love could overcome fear, and that their family was stronger than they ever knew. Her infectious giggle filled their home, and her tiny fingers wrapped around theirs as they faced each hurdle together. As they watched her grow, meeting each milestone with tenacity and joy, Mark and Emma realized that their love had not just survived the storm, it had thrived. They had found a new appreciation for their partnership, one forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the love of a child who had chosen them, just as they had chosen her. Their marriage was no longer a battleground of ultimatums, but a bastion of support and understanding. They had come to understand that sometimes, the path to happiness isn't the one you expect, but rather the one you forge together, step by challenging step. Their journey with Lily was just beginning, but Mark and Emma faced it as a united front. They had weathered the storm of doubt and uncertainty, and now, hand in hand, they stepped into the bright, uncharted future that lay before them. A future filled with love, hope, and a little girl who had brought them more joy than they ever thought possible. As Lily grew, her condition presented challenges that no parent could ever anticipate. But with each hurdle she faced, she revealed a strength and a perspective on life that was nothing short of extraordinary. Her unwavering smile, the way she approached every day with an open heart and a curiosity that knew no bounds, it was as if she had been sent to them to show them the true meaning of resilience. Inspired by their daughter's courage, Mark and Emma decided to channel their love and energy into something bigger than themselves. They founded the Lily's Light Foundation, dedicated to supporting families who, like theirs, were navigating the complexities of rare genetic disorders. They hosted fundraisers, organized support groups, and advocated for awareness and research. Their newfound mission brought them closer to each other and to a community they had never known existed. They met families who understood their struggles, who could share in their triumphs and offer empathy in their darkest moments. Through the foundation, they created a network of love and support that stretched far beyond their own four walls, reaching into the lives of those who needed it most. The work was hard, but it was also profoundly rewarding. They watched as children like Lily began to flourish, receiving the care and resources they deserved. And in every family they helped, they saw a reflection of their own, parents who had been torn apart by the stress of it all, now finding strength in unity and purpose. The foundation became their shared legacy, a testament to their love for their daughter and their commitment to each other. And in the eyes of the families they touched, Mark and Emma became more than just a couple who had found a way to overcome their differences. They became heroes. But it wasn't just the outside world that had changed. Their home buzzed with a new energy, a sense of belonging that had been missing before. They had found their place in the world, not just as a couple, but as parents to a very special child who had changed them both in ways they never could have imagined. And as they tucked Lily into bed each night, her eyes shining with the tales of the day, they knew that their decision to adopt her had been the best one they had ever made. The third child they had once debated so fiercely had become the very thing that had brought them together, that had made their family complete. Their love had not just survived the storm, it had grown into something beautiful and powerful, capable of lighting the way for others. And as they watched Lily sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in the quiet of the night, they realized that the ultimatum they had once faced had led them to a place of peace and fulfillment they had never dreamed possible. The foundation grew, and with it, so did Mark and Emma's love for each other. They had discovered that the most profound moments in life often come from the most unexpected places, and in the end, it was their willingness to take a chance on a little girl named Lily that had saved not just her, but their marriage as well. Years passed, and Lily grew into a young woman, her spirit as bright as the day she was born. Her condition had not held her back, if anything, it had propelled her forward. Her tenacity was a reflection of the love and support she had been raised in, and it was this spirit that had caught the eye of a prestigious university. One evening, as the family sat around the dinner table, Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement as she held an envelope in her trembling hands. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice filled with hope and nerves, "I got into Stanford." The room was filled with a collective gasp, followed by cheers and laughter as Mark and Emma embraced their daughter. The joy in that moment was palpable. It was the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifice, and love. It was a testament to Lily's strength, and to the bond they had all formed as a family. The news spread quickly through their community, and soon, their home was filled with well-wishers and supporters of the foundation. As they celebrated Lily's achievement, Mark couldn't help but look at Emma, the woman who had once resented his refusal to have more children. Now, she was the woman who had stood by him through every challenge, who had become his partner in the truest sense of the word. Together, they had turned a potential wedge into a cornerstone of their relationship. And as they watched Lily move through the world with a grace and strength that belied her struggles, they knew that the love they had forged in those early days had not just saved their marriage, but had created a legacy that would live on far beyond the walls of their home. The night of the acceptance, as they sat in the glow of their daughter's success, Mark took Emma's hand and squeezed it gently. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion, "for fighting for us, for Lily, for everything." Emma leaned into him, her eyes shining. "Thank you for not giving up on us," she replied. "For showing me that sometimes, the things we fight for the hardest are the ones that make us the strongest." And in that moment, as they watched their daughter beaming with pride, they knew that the love they had discovered in the face of adversity was the greatest gift of all. It was the kind of love that didn't just survive, it thrived, growing stronger with each challenge it faced. A love that had built not just a family, but a legacy of hope and support for others.